to vote against the deal. Among the many, many conflicted Democrats, Democratic National Committee Chair and Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She joins me now to announce her vote. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us. So I know you spoke to the president, you spoke to the vice president. Did you give them good news? Did you give them bad news? How are you going to vote?
You know, I've gone through a gut-wrenching, thought-provoking process where I wrapped up that process by spending the last few weeks talking with my constituents. And my number one goal in making this decision was to reach a conclusion based on what I thought would be most likely to prevent Iran from achieving their nuclear weapons goals. And in weighing everything, all the information that I've had in front of me, I concluded that the best thing to do is to vote in support of the Iran deal and make sure that we can put Iran years away from being a threshold nuclear state and ensure that we can more closely concentrate on their terrorist activity. So I'll be casting my vote to support the deal and, if necessary, sustain the president's veto.
What were some of the specifics about the deal that made this such a difficult decision for you? What parts of the deal do you wish were stronger?
So there are a number of things that really have given me angst and pause, and that still do. I worry that the vigilance over the life of the deal may wane. Not the United States vigilance, but with the IAEA's enforcement, with the world that has been a party to this, that complacency could set in. I worry that additional resources, no matter how little, that Iran would get access to, that they could divert to terrorist activity. It would cause harm to Jews and others around the world. I worry that we have to make sure that the monitoring is really as gap-free as possible. But with all of that, in looking at those concerns and even still having them, it was imperative for me to be able to make a decision, A, based on, is there a better alternative? In thoroughly reviewing opponents' claims that we could use our banking system, for example, to wrestle our allies and Iran back to the negotiating table for a so-called better deal, no one presented me with any evidence to show me that that was possible. And in talking to our allies' ambassadors, in talking to nuclear experts, in talking to our intelligence officials in top-secret briefings, in talking to Secretary Liu, it was very clear that global economic chaos would be caused if you had even attempted that. That if we walked away from the deal, no matter what, Iran gets access to additional resources. And if we walk away from the deal, then what results is they have additional resources. They still have the ability to ramp up and move towards their nuclear weapons goals. And we have none of the monitoring, none of the accountability, none of the inspections.
And the deal would provide that.
And the deal ensures that at least those very robust, the most intrusive inspections and monitoring that we've ever imposed or that have ever been agreed to.
A few weeks ago, the Associated Press revealed that they had seen a document that would suggest that Iran, when it came to the military installation at Parchin, Iran would get to self-inspect.
Right. And I had, the day that story came out the day before, I had an entire morning's worth of briefings, top-secret briefings in the Situation Room. I walked in.
You went to the Situation Room?
I did. I was in the Situation Room probably 20 times over the last 2 years, from the beginning of the discussions about the preliminary agreement all the way through to 2 Fridays ago. When that story came out, I brought that story into the Situation Room with some of our intelligence officials who I can't obviously reveal who they were, put that story in front of them, and I said, if this is true, I am a no. I want you to clearly understand that you need to address this concern. And I was given probably the most thorough review that almost any member had access to as far as what the actual process is for Iran to reveal their previous military dimensions at Parchin. And I can say in no uncertain terms, without revealing the details, that they cannot self-inspect.
They can't?
Cannot.
Okay.
Absolutely cannot. And that the IAEA, and in fact, the head of the IAEA came out immediately, and they hardly ever comment, Jake, but the head of the IAEA said that that was absolutely not the case. It's an excruciatingly detailed process that they will have to go through to certify, and they cannot self-inspect. That was incredibly important to me.
We only have about a minute left, but I mean, I want to address something that's very clear to you, I know, in that there are a lot of constituents of yours. There are a lot of Jews who are going to say, you sold out Israel. And what are you going to say to them?
You know, I'm the first Jewish woman to represent Florida in Congress. I'm a Jewish mother, and I wrote an op-ed today that's in the Miami Herald, one of my hometown papers, that talks about my Jewish heart and how important this was to me, that as a Jewish mother, that we have a concept of l'dor v'dor, from generation to generation. There's nothing more important to me as a Jew to ensure that Israel's existence is there throughout our generations. And I am confident that the process I've gone through to reach this decision is one, sure that Israel will be there forever. It is the homeland of my people. I'm an American citizen, and I believe fervently in protecting America's national security interests. And there is no way that we would be able to ensure that better than approving this deal and ensuring that Iran is not ever able to get access to nuclear weapons, and that we can shift our focus with the rest of the world on going after their terrorist ambitions. And most importantly, I had the privilege of talking with President Obama last night, who assured me that as we move forward and discuss with Israel the enhanced security package that will absolutely be essential for us to provide to Israel, as well as ensure that we tighten our ability to enforce this deal, that I'll be part of a group of members of Congress that will be working with him and his administration on that. That's critical for me.
Obviously a very, very difficult decision for you, Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz. There's a lot of politics I want to talk to you about as well, the Democratic debates, Hillary Clinton, Planned Parenthood. You've agreed to come back, and you'll talk to me on Tuesday on the lead so we can address that.
Look forward to that.
Thank you so much for talking to me about this very tough